Hi, I'm Lori and this is the Knitting End YouTube Knitting Podcast. Today is Saturday, August the 17th, and we are rolling right towards the end of summer. Yesterday, my husband and I dropped our daughter off for her sophomore year, second year at university, and my school starts middle of this next week, and my son goes back to his university for his last year next weekend, so summer's coming, sadly, to a close. It's good to catch up with you here. I started this channel as a way to connect with friends who are knitters and non-knitters, just another platform to touch base and share what I am working on, what I'm thinking about, and once in a while, an additional topic. This week's topic is something that just keeps coming up in conversation wherever I seem to go, and that is menopause. So if you're in for it, great. If you're here for the knitting and yarny stuff, fantastic. Look forward to hanging out with you for a little bit. Without further ado, I am wearing the frame sweater. This is a pattern by Andrea Mowry, and this is episode 13. In episode 12, I shared my thoughts on this design. In summary, I thought it was very pretty. Didn't think it was necessarily something I had a burning desire to knit, and I was a little disappointed that while Andrea had shared many other yarn alternatives, none of the testers, there were no samples knit in anything that was in the alternatives, and the kits were coming out to $300-400, and I just felt that was a little beyond what I like to spend for a sweater. I could probably knit 3 or 2 sweaters with what the cost was coming out to be for this particular sweater. And those materials are beautiful. Just for me, I would have wanted something different. I talked quite a bit in my last episode about how I would knit it in this yarn, Patons Classic Wool Worsted, which is a big box store yarn available at my Michaels store. I think it runs around $7 a ball. It's 190 yards for 100 grams. It's all wool. I have loved this yarn. I've always wanted to knit a sweater in it. And at the time, a few weeks ago, I thought, I'm really tempted by the challenge, but compared to the other sweaters I have on my list, I'd rather be knitting those. Well, the challenge won out. I decided to knit it. I'm really glad I did because I'm very happy with how it came out. I did make a few modifications. So let me show you the full body. And that's the rib. I did do a split hem and a little bit of a high-low, maybe a 1/2 inch difference between the front and back. What other modifications I made? So mine is a much more fitted version. It calls for quite a lot more ease. It also calls for sleeves that I think end above the wrist bone. And you can see I still have a couple of ends to weave in. I felt like this motif was very memorizable, but I don't feel like it was a beginner-friendly pattern because it really is all over color work. It's a very warm sweater. I hope for those folks who decide to wear it at Rhinebeck, that it is not a hot or warm Rhinebeck because it's a warm sweater. For me, Andrea Mowry often has designs that are wider and cropped and maybe shorter. To me, on my body, it's just not my preference. I also feel like for me, it looks like I didn't feel like finishing the sweater. So I lengthened the body, I think by 1 pattern repeat. I lengthened the sleeves also by 1 pattern repeat. I only used 2 colors. It's a 3-color or a 3 yarn design. This is supposed to be its own color, and these 2 contrast colors, or one of which is a color changing yarn as originally designed. I just felt like this motif was plenty busy and had enough going on but yet with these 2 colors, there was enough contrast. So I used natural mix. There is a gray that's darker, and I accidentally purchased that at first, and then I just swapped it out. And then this cream color is the same yarn, but the color's called Aran, A-R-A-N. I love it. I love it even more than I thought I would. I think I love these colors on me right now, to be honest. Gray and cream and red are really what are speaking to me. But you'll see I'm also knitting in a lot of other colors too. What else can I tell you? I was a little nervous until I blocked it. I blocked it not aggressively, like the wool isn't pulling, but I blocked it into shape for sure. The sleeves came out plenty long. They did not really, I blocked them because I needed to. I also blocked this in the middle of the project to make sure the body was gonna be long enough. It is a bottom up knit. The last modification I did is on the neckline here. So the pattern is designed and that you bottom up, as any bottom up, you split or most bottoms up, you split for the, when you get to the front and back and knit them separately. Tammy from the Wine and Wool podcast had knit hers and she added steeks to the armholes. And for me, that was just genius. I really do not enjoy knitting color work flat. So I added 5 steek stitches to each armhole and then cut those straight through. Once I got to, I guess, here, where it finishes, where the color work finishes. I also did this, as I said, this neckline. So at the end, you're supposed to pick up again where you've bound off. And I love this. I love this external. I love an external seam sometimes. And you pick up here and you do more of this rib. And if you don't do a perfect pickup, your rib doesn't line up. And that made me, I did not like the look of that at all. I was very unhappy with that. I often do a very small I-cord, so I kept my pickup and I did a 2-stitch I-cord bind off. I think it looks clean. It's a fairly small, like a snug neckline. It's fine. I have a small head. It fits fine. But I'm very happy with this modification. All my other edges are tubular bind off or cast on, whatever the pattern called for. I hope that if you felt that this sweater was not within your budget based on how it was originally shown, that this gives you the encouragement, the permission to check out the yarns at your big box store. It's okay. Trust me, I support farmers first and foremost. I support indie dyers. I support small businesses. This is not, I'm not going to the dark side or the other side. I just think that there is a time and a place, and I think you can knit something beautiful. I'm really happy with what I created with this yarn. That said, like I said, it's double thickness, predominantly all 2-stranded color work. I'm gonna take it off because I have another finished object right underneath. Ooh. So, my second finished object is the Tolsta tank. This is a pattern by Clow. And I have knit, this is the second time I've knit it. And here it is. I knit the square neck version. I think this is an incredibly, Rebecca goes by the Crayabea. She's a designer and has a YouTube channel as well. I think she is an incredibly generous designer, because you get one pattern, you get every neckline, you get bust shaping. So I knit one of these already this summer, and I found this fabulous yarn. I went with my friend Debbie, who is Knittin' Pearls on Instagram, and we went to a summer pop-up shop at Forever Yarn Doylestown, which I'd never been to. We did a little road trip day. So a little over two hours, probably 2.5, maybe 3, maybe it was more hours for us. And one of the vendors there was CakeWool, and she had brought a new base called Glazed, which is 50% baby alpaca, 25% silk, and 25% linen. This is pure luxury. I mean, it has the linen, it has the sheen, and the thickness. Now, she called this fingering, or heavy fingering, but the put up is 273 yards per 100 grams. So it's a little closer to a DK, I think. I did have to size down in my needle to get gauged because of the yarn. But the fit is there. It's great. I I did helical knit. I had 2 skeins and one of them was quite a bit lighter. I started with the darker on the bottom just because I think that's more flattering for me. I helical knit for a while, and when it came to divide for sleeves, I pretty much went with this skein. And I am super happy with it. I love this pattern. I knit a very fitted size, but I also knit with bust shaping. All of my details, I do lengthen the body on this. All the details are on my Ravelry page. Everything I talk about will be linked in the details of the show under more as well. So again, this is the Tolsta tank. Right now, Rebecca's been hosting a knit along all summer, Tolsta time for either the tee or the tank. I have not knit a tee yet, but probably will. I definitely plan to knit at least one of her other designs this year. One other finish is a gift knit. This is the Tiny Ribbon Baby Dress by Astrid Colding Sivertsen. It's a DK weight pattern, only available in size 3 to 6 months. I added this adorable little baby onesie. It's organic cotton. I bought it on Amazon with this Peter Pan collar. I feel like as a gift, it really, really finishes this off. It's peeking out. The bottom is peeking out through here. I didn't block this. I only lightly actually ironed it to get these little edges finished. The pattern is free. I have used it as a gift before, and one of the things that I did, though, one change is one of the sides is supposed to have buttons, and I just seamed them both up. I feel like the neckline is loose enough that it's fine, and I feel like the buttons make it a little bit fussy for me. I love for baby girls knitting a dress because they can wear them, at least my daughter did, when they're dresses. When they're small, they can wear them as tunics as they get older. And this yarn is, I believe, a DK. It came without a label. It is from PlayfulDay Yarns. I think it's one of the purples in her hydrangea collection. I happen to have 2 skeins of it. I think I got it as a mystery. You can't go wrong with a mystery from PlayfulDay, from Tara Lynn. She's just has beautiful color sense. She's become a good friend of mine. And I know the mom-to-be is gonna love this. So it will be a gift tomorrow at the shower. Okay, those are 3 finishes. Moving on to works in progress. Okay, so I have 2, well, a sweater and a vest that I've been working on. So this sweater is called the Ferda Genzer. Oh. Here we go. It is an all-over colorwork fingering weight sweater, and I knit it using mini skeins. It has a folded collar, and it's a raglan sleeve. You see this little stripe here going down the sleeve, that's the raglan. And I feel like I'm having so much fun knitting this. Now, I would not call this a beginner pattern, pretty much because it's originally written in Norwegian and it's missing some of the details that a beginner knitter really probably needs. Such as, like, this is a folded collar. You don't have to do a folded collar, but it calls for it, but it doesn't really tell you how to deal with folding it and tacking it down. And there are many ways to do that. The way that I did was to cast on using a provisional cast on with waste yarn, and once I was ready to fold, I knit 2 together in the round. One of the things that was really helpful to me, though, was the size. I was between 2 sizes, and they both started with the same number of stitches at the neck. And I kept knitting, and I got to the length of yoke that I wanted, and then decided that was the 2 I would divide for sleeves. After I'd knit a few body rounds, I felt like I didn't quite have the width I wanted, but I knew the yoke was already long enough, so I went back to where I had divided and put in 1 extra motif, which was 8 extra stitches. And it's fitted, but I think it's gonna block out. I know it's gonna grow in length. There's no way, in my opinion, to knit a swatch for this effectively. You just don't really know once your piece is gonna be full size like this, to me, how large it's gonna be. I was inspired to knit this by Laurel, who is West Maven, and she has Knit All the Things podcast. And she's given me great advice on how she did it. I collected all of my mini skeins, grouped them by color family, and then played with some of the groupings. I ended up choosing the pinks, blues, and purples. And then, because I wanted some amount of like definition, more in some rows than others between this triangle and this triangle, like the up and the down, I then created color pairings and put them on my couch, just basically lined them up along my couch and just wound and knit as I went. I'm at the point now, so I have 13 pairs. I'm at the point now where I've started to repeat, and I've started back with this set right here, back down on the body. It is a long sleeve design, and I'm hoping to make it that way because I think it is warm, since it's pretty much double weight, double thickness because of the fingering weight. The only other thing that I would say is, for me, the raglan, the dimensions of the raglan to the sleeve, I think the sleeve number of stitches, and this comes from the start of the sweater, or because it's not a compound raglan, the raglan is more narrow and the sleeves are larger based on the distribution of stitches. I'm not sure how I could have really changed that effectively with keeping this like growing triangle pattern, which is built into the raglan. So I just sort of went with it. I do feel like I came up with a good solution of casting on extra stitches under the arms, and I will just pick them up with the sleeves. And the sleeves, if I want to taper them or make them a balloon, I'll figure that out as I go. I'm having fun with it. It is fun to knit with your minis. This uses up a really good portion of my minis. Of course, I still have greens, oranges, and yellows, and reds, and have to kind of figure out. I had an idea, but I'm not sure what those are gonna turn into quite yet. So this is taking a bit, just because it's a fingering weight and it's all over color work sweater. But I'm enjoying the color changes. I do look forward to each sort of stripe of double triangles, and as long as it keeps moving forward, I'm happy. I probably will block this mid-project. I have been known to do that. It really, to me, gives me a lot more insight into what the fabric's gonna look like. I'll probably knit the body to a certain length, and before I do any waist ribbing, I will do a mid-project block. That also will give me a sense of how long the sleeves need to be, and I think it's fun. It is busy for my style, but I also feel like mixing the colors that I did, it's not too loud for my taste. Okay, so that is the Ferda by Anna and Heidi Pickles. I am also knitting with this absolutely delicious farm yarn from Renninger Wool Co. It is the Winnie Woolly Buns DK from this year, from the 2024 harvest. That's her. That is Winnie. And this is my friend Jenny's farm and her yarn. It is a beautiful chocolate color. And I am working on the Oban vest, which is a pattern by Thea Colman. It is a V-neck, bottom-up, cabled vest. And here is how it's going. It's not quite the center, because that's where my needles are. Those are kind of on the sides there. Here we go. So this yarn is just, if you don't like farm yarn because you think it's itchy, you need to try this yarn. It's not itchy. It's pure, it's very, very cozy. And so soft. I have pet the sheep myself. They're very, very soft. So it has a few, I asked Jenny about this, it has a few spots of white, and that is of course because Winnie has a little bit of white in her. And those do show up here and there. What can I say? I have knit the Oban cardigan, the hat. I have versioned a cowl. There is also a pullover. I have not knit that. But I am just having so much fun with this pattern and using this yarn. I have 4 skeins of it, 4 skeins. The put up is, it's all merino wool, 225 yards, DK, 3-ply DK weight. This was created using only Winnie's yarn. Some of the yarns that Jenny sells are combinations of 2 different sheep fleeces, but this one is not. Small batch yarn from well-loved, responsibly raised sheep. So Jenny is hosting a make-along, and you just need to use her yarn. You need to predominantly use her yarn. If you're mixing it with something else, that's okay. It doesn't matter what you're making. It doesn't matter what craft you're doing. And the winner gets to name a lamb. So she is calling it the Name a Lamb Mal, make-along, M-A-L, Name a Lamb if you use Instagram and her yarn. She still has some yarn in her shop. Last she mentioned that it's some fingering, and she has all of the natural colors of wool. She probably is out of this color and some of the darker colors. I think she has some grays and lighter ones still there. But you cannot go wrong. It is absolutely spectacular. So I'm hoping to see Jenny. I will see Jenny. And we will either be knitting on our matching vests, or maybe I'll be wearing mine by then. I'm not sure. I think she's a bit ahead of me. We might be about in the same spot at this point. But she is about to go into shearing season. And then that means picking, cleaning all of the fleeces. And so that is going to take priority. She told me, she warned me of her time coming up soon. Okay, those are my 2 works in progress. I also wanted to talk about new wind-ups. So I've wound yarn for 2 more projects that I wanted to share with you today. So I'm going to show you a picture of 2 sweaters, of 1 sweater I'm planning to cast on. Let me just pull it up. It's in my queue. If I can find Ravelry. Here we go. So I don't remember where I found the sweater, but I am planning to knit the Smoldering Embers. That is really blown out. It is a colorwork yoke design. It's by Debra Gehrard. And it is a sport weight design. I was looking for patterns to use color changing yarn with, and so my main yarn is going to be this gray, which is called Pebble. It is Juniper Moon Farm Patagonia, which I purchased at Skein Yarn Shop in Rhode Island last fall. I have 3 or 4 skeins of this, and it's organic merino. The put up is really great. It's 3.52 ounces. It is 382 yards, 400 grams. I am also going to use some of this gorgeous fluff. I mean, that's pretty color accurate on my screen. So this is called Suri Silk DK. It is by Fiber Macgyver. The put up, this is a DK weight, 74% baby Suri alpaca and 26% silk, 246 yards for 100 grams. And then I'm going to use this. This is Yarn Hero Merge Sport. I purchased this just this time last year. I don't remember the put up, but I will look it up right now. It is, the colorway is either Girl Crush, I think this one's Girl Crush, or Sweetheart. I received them because these are seconds, and I've already knit, one of them was pink and one of them was red. And they didn't come with the bands on them, it just came with a sheet, so I'm not exactly sure which is which. Okay, this is 100% merino wool, also non-superwash, which I love about Yarn Hero. Let me see. 330 yards for the 100 grams. So I haven't decided exactly where I'm gonna work the fluff in, whether I'm gonna put it in with the color changing yarn. I really don't wanna lose the specialness of this color changing yarn. That's good. So I am hoping to cast this on pretty soon, just to get it going, although I know I'm not gonna be able to put it down once it gets started, because I'm hoping to plan another trip to Rhode Island soon. I'd love to be working on it. I also wound up yarn for another sweater. It also uses Yarn Heroes Merge Sport that I purchased again as seconds. So I'm gonna try to hold up the 3 skeins that I've wound all together. I think I can balance them. Here we go. So these are, again, Merge Sport. Colorway is called Glowworm. They're all pretty different. This top one especially looks to have a lot less orange in it, but they do all have the same colors. Some of it is just how the cake is spinning. Actually, maybe you can see better if I flip them. Just a tip is, if you don't, I wind my skeins twice. I wind them the first time off the skein from my Swift, and then I rewind them. And I learned to do this from Andrea Mowry, because it creates less tension on your yarn as it's wound. So these yarns are going to go with, I'm gonna see if I can get all 4 together. Here we go. This gorgeous blue, which is indigo, and it is by Utopia Fiber, or Utopia, I think it's just called Utopia. I'll show you the tag in a second. And I'm going to knit these into a stripy unicorn. That's a pattern by Joji Locatelli, and I'm going to do that for the Joji Fall Knit Along, which starts in September. Oh, it's gonna be so much fun. It is basically a 1-row striping pattern. So it will have 1 row of color changing yarn and 1 row of this indigo deep blue, alternating. So here is that Utopia, and it's the Ripple Sport. Again, the colorway is called Indigo. I'm gonna do my swatch in this color, and I'm probably gonna wash it. I need to see if this is going to have some color bleeding, which I wouldn't be surprised if it does. I really, really have enjoyed, I have never used the Sport base. I used a BFL base on another sweater, coincidentally, a Joji design. And that was all 1 color. It was a cardigan I knit last year. I knit all of the lights. And I think I did have some of the color coming off in that. So I want to see how this goes. Now, this Ridge Sport is, I think it's just it just says fine wool from Midwestern sheep. They don't actually go into what breed it is. It's 304 yards per 100 grams. So, it's fabulous. I am very excited for this knit. I seem to often have some Joji pattern in my plans each year. Usually it's maybe 1, maybe 2, but seem to have them. So those are my 2 winded ups. New things. I had the chance to go into New York City recently, a few weeks ago, and meet up with some knitting friends. Coincidentally, we did no knitting. I don't even know if we brought knitting. I think I had a project in my bag for the train ride. But I met up with my friends Shannon and Beth. Shannon is Whiskey and Wool, and Beth designs under Beth McDonald Stone, and both of them have YouTube channels. And we met up in the city. Beth spends, about 4 or 5 weeks in the summer. She lives in Bermuda, and she spends that time coming into New York City and just taking in the life of New York City. Museums, it's a big burst of culture. And the nice thing about New York City is a lot of people leave the city in the summer. They go out to the Hamptons or the beaches, the New Jersey beaches, or wherever. And so the city can be kind of emptier in the summer months. We met and we went to a museum. We saw the Met Fashion exhibit, which was just fabulous and interesting and inspiring. And then we had lunch there, and it was such a treat. It was really lovely, amazing conversation. And I definitely recommend, if you are not, which you probably are, but if you are not yet checked out their YouTube channels and podcasts. Shannon is a former knitwear designer and a professor, a college professor, and she is my color guru. When we've shopped together, she has the best insight into color choices and tries to warn me when I make bad choices or choices I won't be happy with, I guess I should say. And Beth talks about her designs, and it's just really interesting, in my opinion, to get into the mind of a designer. Shannon showed up with gifts for us. She is kind of destashing some of her handspun, and she gave me some of her handspun. She gave me nearly a sweater's quantity for me of this. So this yarn is from Kim Dye's Yarn, and she spun this. It is Colorway Seasons Chains. She spun it into a worsted. It's about 700 yards. I am gobsmacked. I don't know what this will become, but I'm sure it will become something beautiful. I mean, it's going to be a sweater. I might just keep it simple and do like a raglan of some sort, or just a round neck sweater. I will probably do my sleeves the way I did the Noro Ito sweater. Depends how it stripes up. But what a generous gift, Shannon. Thank you. Thank you. It's fabulous. So that is going to take a little time for me to kind of decide what I'm going to make with that. I also noticed that Junction Fiber Mill, they are a mill in White River Junction, Vermont, which is on the border of New Hampshire. And they periodically do mystery bags of skeins or odd lots or things that just didn't make their color. There's nothing necessarily wrong with them, but you can try, and it ends up being a mystery, but you can pick your base, DK, or they have a sport, and you see what you get. And I decided they could send it in this cute bag. They just had it on sale. Literally, it took 2 days. After I had it within 2 days. And I just thought I would enhance my color changing yarns, and this was what I got. So I don't know if this is part of their new brat color, this green. I'm not sure. And I got some of this gold and this like tricolor reds, or kind of a rust, a gold, and a blue tones. Don't know what they'll become. I just felt like treating myself to some of their yarn. These are usually small allocations that they have, that they just sort of randomly choose based on the base that you pick. Okay, I think that's it for the knitting. I'm going to talk briefly about the books, which is also going to lead me into the and topic for today. I forgot to show them even though they were sitting right with me last time. I finished this book in July, The Short and Tragic Life of Robert Peace by Jeff Hobbs. It's a very well-written book. It's a very sad story. I took this out of the library of the high school where I work. It's part of our monthly challenge, and part of it takes place at Yale University, and because we're in Connecticut, part of the challenge for, I think it was June, needed to take place in Connecticut. July's book needed to be a genre you don't read and often, and this is a biography. I don't read biographies often, but it was a really good read. It was a New York Times bestseller. Jeff Hobbs was Robert Peace's college roommate, or one of his college roommates, and I do recommend it if you haven't read it. I also read a book, which I actually am not going to show you because I gave it to a friend who really needed it. It is a book called The New Menopause. So this brings us to books transitioning into the and topic this time. The New Menopause, it is by Dr. Mary Claire Haver. And it was recommended to me by a friend who is a nutritionist, but also a friend who is a doctor. And I feel like everywhere I go right now, people are talking, somehow menopause comes in conversation. Now that could be because of some of my friends are, a lot of my friends are my age or older. I also just think it's become more talked about. there's a Walgreens commercial, and in it, these two women are standing in front of the air condition in Walgreens, and they don't say anything, but they clearly make a point. I found myself doing that when I was at Forever Yarn Doylestown. It was a warm day. There were a lot of people in their shop, but I needed to be in a place that was cool. So The New Menopause is really a book that talks about the history of menopause and menopause care, and basically the fact that doctors don't really receive any training on it. OBGYNs, internists, it's not really part of med school. Women have been dismissed for, their symptoms for years, and the symptoms can be quite, for some people, significant, overwhelming, and they're very varied, and they can change. And there have been studies done and about the effects of hormone treatment, and sometimes what was actually promoted in the press was not the full story. And so I felt like it was a good way for me of getting informed. It happens that my internist went to a concierge model, and my OBGYN retired both within the same year. And those were the two doctors that I used to say, I want to grow old with. Well, my OBGYN said, I am old, I'm retiring, I love you, but I'm done. And my internist really just was kind of fed up with the insurance model. And right now I'm a healthy enough person that I just didn't need I couldn't afford to pay the fees. I couldn't justify paying the fees for concierge services. But I also felt that I was a little bit in the dark about menopause and what was happening in my body. And this book really did help me out. So I'm just gonna pull up on my phone a picture of the cover so that you can see what it looks like. The New Menopause, okay. Hold on. And I felt like it enabled me to have an informed discussion, a more informed discussion. Ugh, these lights, let me find a good place to, really, that's not working because most of it, there's probably the best angle right there, at least on my screen. It basically says The New Menopause. Okay. I felt like I could articulate what I was feeling, the symptoms I was experiencing, and I could talk about all of them and realize that there's a good chance they were all related to that phase of life. And it enabled me to have a more informed conversation with my doctor, my new GYN. And it also helped me feel more confident in working with her on what options I had going forward. So personally, I did start what's called now menopausal hormone therapy. I think used to be called hormone replacement therapy, or they're used interchangeably. I'm 52, and there were reasons that for me that was a choice of something to try. I'm not going to get any more medical than that, other than to say for me it is helping. I'm glad to talk about that further, but I'm not going to talk about that further here. That said, in addition to that book, Dr. Mary Claire Haver wrote this book first. So this is what I'm reading now. It's called The Galveston Diet. You may have heard of it. She developed this diet. She is an OB/GYN. She developed this diet based on her own research, her own experiences, and what she was hearing from her own patients. She went and got some type of culinary or dietary certification on top of all of her other med school training and developed this. I am really probably about a quarter of the way through. And I don't think there's a one-size-fits-all diet for everyone, but I do think there are some probably very practical strategies in this to maybe put into place for me. I'll see. Specifically for me, a more of an anti-inflammatory diet. I have joint pain that has not subsided yet. And I feel like there are some things in here, some strategies and supplements, and that might just be beneficial, that I might just want to try. I'm still learning. It's kind of my point. So like I said, I'm kind of hearing questions. One of my yoga students asked if I could carve out additional time and invite people to stay after class if they just wanted to have a discussion about what their own experiences were. And some of my students are postmenopausal. So I just thought I would share these resources that I found interesting, useful, and I felt more informed about what was going on with me in my body. Doesn't solve everything, it doesn't make them go away, but it's definitely, I felt reassured with what I was feeling. Okay, I think that is gonna wrap it up for today. And I hope to have at least one new sweater cast on. I hope to have the body of the Ferda finished by the time I see you. I hope to cast on the Smoldering Embers. The Hoagie Fall Cow you cannot cast on before September, and I'm hoping I'll come back to you prior to September. Change is coming. Change can be hard, but I think it's best to just try to go with it. I think change is times of opportunity. You know, for us having both kids home, my son's been home since December because he was working on a co-op, which is part of his degree, his program. And so he's been home for a long time. Now he will go back to school for a full year. And it's great for him. It's going to be very quiet for us here, my husband and I. And our dog, Cooper, will be spoiled because that's who gets the attention when the kids are not around. All right, it was good to catch up with you. I will see you soon. Please, if you are not subscribed to the channel, please consider subscribing. The channel has over 800 subscribers. It's just me here talking to you, my friends, and leave a comment. Let me know if there's anything specific you would like me to talk about in the and section of these videos, and I will see you soon.